Bill King brings no shame to college football. He is the king of college football talk. He is on the air 6 to 9 Monday through Friday on Nashville Sports Radio, and he's been doing this a long time, and we appreciate him joining us as always. Bill, how's your Wednesday going so far?
Good, guys. How about you?
Well, we're in better shape than we were last week as a league. I think by last week there were already more games postponed than were still on the schedule. And we're getting word that there are some COVID-related issues for Arkansas that aren't going to put them under the necessary numbers. They will be able to play Saturday. We don't know who's dealing with this or the contact tracing or who's out. But this will be a game against LSU where the Razorbacks are in a different position than they've been at any other point this year. Not to say that LSU is at their strongest either, right, Bill? You've never seen a defending national champion have the sort of season LSU is having.
No, I mean, at times I question their wants. I mean, if you're one of the leftovers on that team, man, not many, right? And their best player that decided originally to stay, one of the top picks in the draft, wide receiver, opted out early. But after the start to this season and all that's gone on and normalizing opt-outs, I'm not sure how much heart LSU has in their soul, in their metaphorical football soul. Because in the Auburn game, I saw a lot of quit in them. Not trying to discredit Auburn, but I thought LSU didn't have a whole lot of want in that game. And I'm just wondering what they've got left.
That's amazing when you put it in those terms, too, because we like to talk about how different it is 365 days after last year, for Arkansas, where they were going into their first game without Chad Morris. And we were questioning all the want for this team. And LSU was all about destiny and desire and family. And Coach O is the greatest motivator of all time. Boy, things really do change in a year, though, usually not this much.
Yeah, they're playing, and I think in some cases coaching like they've got the trophy and their belly's full right now. Look, they never admit this, but that's what I'm seeing at times out of LSU. And, it's also interesting, and some of it would be what you just referred to, the Arkansas cases. But that game started, Arkansas, I believe, -2.5, and it's moved 5 points. And I haven't looked at it in the last couple of hours, but LSU was a favorite. Same number, -2.5. So that's moved pretty much in the last, 48 hours.
Even one of the lines I follow here has LSU as a 3-point favorite. So
creeping up.
Continues to move in the Tigers' direction. Let's look over to the coaching change at South Carolina, and I feel like you could write a depressing song that's titled "The Ballad of Will Muschamp," because he was the next big thing as the DC at Texas head coach in waiting. Didn't work out there, obviously, but gets the chance to replace Urban Meyer. Fails there. South Carolina feels like the refuge for former legendary coaches. He was not in that position, and I just don't know what's next for him. What do you think could be next for Will Muschamp?
Well, first of all, he's collected so much money from Florida even afterwards, and then now I think I saw the number was for the next 49 months he gets $270,000 a month. But these guys, coaches coach. And the money's very important, but they don't want to sit in a hammock and watch the breeze and watch the ocean and sip on an umbrella drink. These guys like the grind. They like it when it's late and you're watching film and nobody else can do it. They love that crap. He'll be somebody's defensive coordinator pretty quick. I would say he's somebody's defensive coordinator for the 21 season, and he'll be collecting whatever the 270 is, and if he's got an offset, which most everybody does, only ones I remember that didn't would be Sumlin and Todd Graham. So he's set. Or he can do like some do and just go and get you a condo in Tuscaloosa and just sit in on Alabama meetings. Do that too.
That's awesome.
Charlie Strong sitting there, Butch Jones, God knows who I'm leaving out, but just join the group.
That's probably how the thing will probably end up. We got Bill King here with us on halftime. Keeping with South Carolina for a second, as soon as the news was made, a lot of people on Twitter and a lot of the media guys was like, all right, that's Hugh Freeze's job now. Where do you think South Carolina turns to next? Is it going to be a Hugh Freeze, or do you think they'll go in a different direction?
First of all, I do not think, and I've heard this theory, that the SEC office would block it if that's their guy. Now, they did originally a couple of years ago talk privately to Nick, because Nick was thinking about hiring him to run the offense. And I think they said, now's not the time. He needs to go away, let everything chill a little bit, and then make his way back, earn his way back. I don't think there's any way they would stand in the way there. Having said that, though, South Carolina is led by Ray Tanner, former baseball coach. He's a pretty hardcore, straight-down-the-line dude, right? The president of the school's got a military background. And I don't know if they can get Hugh Freeze past those guys. I think that's the question. And the names you hear would be Billy Napier, who was nearby at Clemson for a little bit years back, but he knows the terrain. Actually got fired at Clemson when they weren't doing it. It was right before they hired Chad Morris. He was the predecessor to Chad Morris there. But his resume has been very good. He's at Louisiana right now running a very good program. And Shane Beamer. Shane Beamer spent some time there. Baby Beamer is what all his buddies called him. He's another name that I have seen.
South Carolina seems like a really difficult job, though, because you're squeezed in between, Clemson on one side, Georgia on another. It's not that they're a bottom-feeding program, but when you're in the same recruiting footprint as those two behemoths, it just seems like it's a tough job, even with good fan support, even with good facilities. What do you make of the South Carolina job and where it would rank in that region out that way?
No indigenous dominant recruiting backyard, and if it is, or if there is, Clemson's going to get them, right? You're not choosing South Carolina. Yeah, everybody goes into Georgia. There's plenty of room in Georgia there, but your point is taken. Look, at your very best, and there's a couple of exceptions. In 2010, Spurrier played Cam Newton in the SEC championship game. Obviously, Auburn went on to win it all that year, but that's a very almost lottery-like moment for South Carolina football. Before Lou Holtz got there, they had basically no bowl-winning history at all, little or nothing. It's a tough gig, but it's a gig that will pay you a lot of money, and maybe on your peak years you can be third in the SEC, in the SEC East. You're probably not ever going to be better than Georgia and Florida together. You just, for obvious reasons. But if Tennessee continues to be mired in mediocrity, and Vanderbilt's Vanderbilt, Kentucky can have their moments, but again, they're beatable. Third in the East might be an occasion if you're doing well at South Carolina.
Well, they're so good at getting former national champion coaches from the SEC. So I was just kind of wondering, could they convince Philip Fulmer to, leave his job as athletic director? Could they maybe have gotten Mac Brown a couple of years ago? I mean, it's just an interesting trail of head coaches that has come through that program. Yeah,
I mean, big names. I don't know who that name would be. Philip, I know you're just kidding, but obviously Philip doesn't have it in him to run a program anymore. But, heck, he's got his own problems trying to get his pick, Jeremy Pruitt, to get anything done in year number 3. It was interesting, guys, not on topic, but they just snuck by a couple of months ago, but it just got announced that they snuck in a Philip Fulmer 2-year extension, which, frankly, the fan base is pretty split over. They didn't really take too kindly to that secrecy and that news.
Bill King here with us on halftime. Bill, when you look at this previous to the Arkansas-Florida matchup, and kind of you brought up the SEC East, and obviously right now it's a one-horse race with Florida and then Georgia running around in second place right now, but Florida looked elite on Saturday, and despite everything how bad the Arkansas defense played, not a lot of teams can say that they slowed down that Florida offense so far, and they looked absolutely phenomenal Saturday against the Razorbacks. And I think if they keep playing that way, that moving forward, Florida's going to be a hard team to handle when it gets closer to the college football playoff scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, and what's impressive is their offenses look good pretty much from the beginning, but it's picking up every week.
Right.
It's getting a little better every week. And that's LSU did that last year. Now, this Florida team does not have the overall talent like LSU, but that peaking and constant peaking is a hard thing to do. Now, they've still got some issues defensively, which will hurt them. And obviously, they can't lose the Alabama game even by a point and get in the playoffs unless we just have an utter collapse everywhere else. So they have no margin of error as far as another loss. But if they can knock off Alabama, I think they'd get in. Alabama would get in. That'd probably hurt Notre Dame because I don't think Notre Dame wins the rematch with Clemson. And then you've got to find a home. Unless Ohio State ends up only playing like 3 games, guys, or 4, you got to find a home for them in the playoffs. I mean, they're too good. So that's kind of what it's starting to look like right now.
Well, I'll leave you with this thought here, Bill. I don't think there's any other team that I've watched right now that's more efficient offensively than Florida. And,
right.
you look, the stats mean something at this point of the season. Did you know that when they failed on 4th down inside the red zone against Arkansas, that is the only drive for the Gators all year where they've gotten inside the red zone and failed to score? One drive out of, I think, 6 games now that they have gotten inside, and they get inside the 20 a lot, and they score every time they get there except one. That, to me, is efficiency.
With a quarterback who never started a high school game.
Right.
2-star, maybe. There you go.
Yep. Bill, we'll leave it there. Appreciate you, man. Have a great rest of the week.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Bill.
Bill King from Nashville Sports Radio. Hey, a great gift card idea, because it is gift buying season, is a gift card from Washita Farms, the state-licensed cannabis farm processor and seed labeler in Hot Springs Village that has their full spectrum of products carried at nearly 200 stores across Arkansas. You can also go to WashitaFarms.com and use the code WPS15 when you check out. Washita Farms features CBD products made right here in the natural state with 100% USA-grown hemp, small batch made. Lab results are verified right there on WashitaFarms.com. That's also where you can read the experiences that David Owens has had using plant-based products and how they've helped his life. Again, use the code WPS15 at checkout at WashitaFarms.com. Wrap the show up after the break with a little Change My Mind.